Welcome to the Dr. TK Show. My goal on this podcast is to help you step into the most abundant version of yourself. We'll dive into abundance mindset, exploring various streams of income, and I will share life hacks so that you can live the lifestyle you desire. Now, as a mom and wife, I've merged my knowledge as a clinical psychologist and professor for over 20 years into building a multi-six-figure service-based business and a seven-figure digital product business doing what I love. I believe you can create a wildly abundant life and business unapologetically, dream big, enjoy life, and make a huge impact. So if you're ready to achieve your biggest goals in your life and in your business with the lifestyle that you deserve, you're in the right place. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, great day, y'all. Welcome back to the podcast. And so if you are new to this November to Remember series, then you may want to pause this episode and circle back up to the previous episode because I am sharing what it was like for the month of November as it relates to putting or creating a life first business model and sharing with you how I was able to do that on a recent trip to Walt Disney World. And again, as a disclaimer, even if you do not do Disney, you're not familiar with Disney, you don't like Disney, that is not the focal point of this series. It is primarily focused on integrating an abundance mindset and taking on the theme of choosing time and choice flexibility so that you can actually take an abundance approach to your business and your life. And so that podcast was all about the planning process, having a mastermind at the same time of taking my family to Walt Disney World, and then some choices that we made to experience some new things. And so if you want to circle back to that podcast, I would encourage you to do so, because in this episode, we are going to be talking about the abundance experience of what I learned during our travel day and staying at the actual venue location for convenience. So one thing that I'm a real big advocate on is that to not get time back. And over the last 4 years, I have hosted at least 2 in-person events. And even though it never feels like I'm working because it feels like a party, whether it's 2 to 3 people in the room or 60 people in the room, I realize how important it is to have a brain break after the event. And honestly, in the middle of the event, sometimes if I can, the more people it is, the more brain break I need sometimes, where I would need to detach myself and kind of eat by myself to recuperate. So in this episode, I want to share with you first, like the abundance shifts that not just I had, but my family had as it relates to travel day. So for us, travel day is a big deal. Do set abundant intentions, whether it be, how early we're going to get to the airport, how we're going to get to the airport, where we're going to park our car and all the things. And so I'm going to walk you step by step of all the choices that usually I plan and I make for our family because I'm the planner, so that we can enjoy even getting on the plane with ease. And we know that there are things out of our control, like a delayed flight, which I was really praying that there was no delayed flights because we had a stop on the way there, which I had not done, honestly, in like 8 freaking years. But I go over that in episode part 1. So we fly out of LAX. They usually have the best deals, even though it's the busiest airport and it's the furthest away from our house. But we typically fly there because it's more choices to fly out. We flew out of Southwest, and let's just first talk about that choice. We chose Southwest because, one, we had credit. It made more sense to use the credit, even though it doesn't expire. But I knew that there's not a lot of places that I want to fly on Southwest because they don't have a lot of straight through flights unless I'm going to the Bay Area in California or Vegas, or maybe Texas. So chose Southwest also because we get 2 free bags each. Now that was important for me because when we have events out of town, I don't bring all of my equipment. I don't bring speakers, microphones. I don't bring this camera equipment or even the pop-up banners like I do at home when we go to like Vegas or LA events. But I did want to bring some items. And if I can help it for time convenience when we touch down, because typically I may fly in 1, max 2 days before our event, but I like to fly in and stay more on the back end if it's more of a family situation versus enjoying the city before my event, because that's going to make me tired. So that's something that you want to consider if you ever fly in somewhere, even if you're a client or a participant at an event, is always fly in the day before because you don't want to run into any travel issues. But if you plan on staying, I would recommend stay after so that you can also have a brain break. So we chose Southwest for those reasons, and we flew out of LAX. When we fly out of LAX, I use the spot for parking. That wasn't my original spot. We used to park at Fox Rental Car because in the back they have a place where you can, pay like $8 if you get it super early, or maybe now $20 because of inflation. And it's outdoor parking. There's no covered parking. And we tried like the Marriott, but Fox was typically the lowest. Now, some things that I started to pay attention to is their hours of operation. And sometimes when we had to get to the airport to get on the first flight, they did not open, specifically after the pandemic. There were times where we had a 6 o'clock flight, which meant that we needed to park our car by 4:30 so that we can go through. We didn't have TSA pre-check at that time. We need to go through security. We have a kid. At certain points in our life, he had milk. It was just certain things that we knew would take us more time to get through security. We had to go to the desk to check him in, my son, because we have to show the birth certificate, like all those things that you want to consider if you're a parent. And it kind of irked me when one time we showed up to the parking lot and it was not open, but they let us book it for a check-in time of 4 o'clock. So that's how I end up finding the spot, because it's 24 hours and they have covered parking, but they also give you a choice if you want to do valet, which means that they just pull your car to the front when you come back, which is ideal, or you can just simply get on the elevator. So if it's just me, like sometimes flying by myself, I got a little carry-on bag or something like that, I may be flying a bag, then I might just go and park my car by myself. But we had a car seat, we got stroller, we have 3 to 4 suitcases, backpacks. I ain't about to get on no elevator with all that stuff, even with my husband, because if you think about it, the baby can't carry nothing at that time that we were doing all this travel. But now he's 6. So we don't have a stroller. We didn't have a car seat, like all those things. So we still reserved our parking at the spot. And just like a quick travel tip, if you go through any of these places to park your car, make sure that you check to see if there's any discounts. So we were able to get a AAA discount, and it logs it in the system to the point where every time we log in, like this trip, I don't know why I thought I booked the parking early and it slipped. I did not use my full checklist as I thought I did. And I realized that I didn't reserve the parking. And it usually is like $27. This time it was like 30, but it still wasn't the cost of when you pull up. If you pull up and you have not looked into the parking, it's going to be at least 30% more. So we did valet because we wanted the convenience of time just to pull up. They open and get all of our luggage out, and then we get on the bus and go to the airport. The other thing with intentionality with Travel Day is that my son likes to be the pilot. One of the things that he said last summer when we actually did a big trip to Walt Disney World with a lot of surprises, staying at a lot of what's considered like deluxe resorts, is that my son got a little whiff of what it was like to automatically be invited into the cockpit. And I was actually amazed that every flight started to invite him into the cockpit. So this trip was a little special. We didn't plan anything beyond asking or maybe being called for him to go meet the pilots. So hint, hint for parents that have kids that want to go into the cockpit. They have them get dressed up in a little costume. My little son is a little sweater, so we make sure that he has on like a light t-shirt and some shorts, even though it may be cold, because he has on the pants. And then if he wants to take the pants off, we want to make sure he has clothes on underneath. And we'll also pack like a blanket and like my travel pillow blanket so that he can lay down on the flight if he so chooses. So I ran to the restroom or the store or something like that. And I came back and they calling my son's name on the icon. I guess the people who, check us in at the gate saw his little costume and they were like, "What's your name?" And we said, it's okay, because we teach him stranger danger, because he's a friendly kid. And told them his name and they made an announcement. Everybody started clapping for him. He really don't like that, but he enjoyed it a little bit. But he does get a little nervous when it's all eyes on him, even though he requests your attention. Like, it's really weird for him. So when I came back, they were calling his name. Then they let him go on the plane before anybody boarded. And they let him take all these videos and pictures pushing all the buttons on the airplane. That elevated his experience because, sorry, I got sidetracked. Last summer, he said, "Mommy, I want to go to all the airlines and I want to meet all the pilots on all the planes." So he's really keeping track. And this time I actually asked one of the pilots one of their names, because typically I'll go and grab the seat, especially on Southwest, and then I'll organize like all his stuff. And, because I'm usually the one sitting next to him in the middle seat while my husband sits on the end and then my son sits by the window. and my husband will get all the pictures in the video or whatever. So, yeah, so they let him go into the cockpit by himself. Then he came back out, and then the women wanted to do something special. The lady asked him, and I thought it was weird, but whatever. She asked him for his first and last name. And then we went to the plane, and my husband was up there taking pictures. He came back with a trophy, like something flyer or something like that, from the pilots, and a certificate with his name on it. I almost burst out into tears because this showed me how big of a deal a kid's vision is. And when you pour into their vision, you are pouring into their future. And I'm like, OMG. Most people won't think this is a big deal. They just think it's cute. And I'm telling y'all, you never know what exposure will do to someone around you, including adults, including yourself. Expose yourself to getting the extra leg room. Expose yourself to getting on the plane first. Expose yourself to the valet parking because it's time. Get comfortable. You ain't got to have your nose up when you sit in the first class, but it's cool to sip that champagne and orange juice while you waiting 30 minutes for everybody to board and they ain't got no space for their luggage. I ain't shooting the breeze because we sat in coach this whole flight. We didn't get no extra leg room. I'll get into that in another episode, right? Because it did not make sense for the flights in this world of inflation with a kid who ain't gonna even eat the first class food. And so that's something else that I learned and I'll talk about later. But nevertheless, that was the experience my son had. And so moving forward, we had a smooth trip going there in terms of food because we knew we were flying Southwest. LAX does have Chick-fil-A. So saved my appetite for there and got us full-fledged meals. We got there early. We do have TSA pre-check. And so we didn't have any issues. The only actual mishap that I ran into is for whatever reason, Southwest removed my husband's TSA pre-check, but luckily the regular line had nobody in there. He doesn't have a laptop. So the only thing he had to do was take off his shoes. But outside of that, he got through security before we did at TSA pre-check. And so that was the only mishap that we had. But after that, our layover was fine. The flight, all in all, was good. I didn't choose to use the internet going. We made sure also for Netflix to download all of the videos, even though you can connect your phone or laptop or whatnot to their Wi-Fi and watch movies and stuff. We also made sure, if I just go through everybody's gadgets, my son, we downloaded YouTube videos. We downloaded Netflix movies that we know he can watch. And we just looked at the length of time that we will be flying, even though he's not on his iPad that much. And then we also bring some activities or whatnot. Then for myself, I knew that in the morning, my brain is more on CEO mode, not on relax mode. I do not go to sleep, but I didn't get a lot of sleep before we left because I was up late packing because we did a lot of last minute, Fashion Nova, Amazon hauls. A couple of my items did not come, so I had to order backups with 24-hour shipping through Fashion Nova. That vlog is coming out soon, so shameless plug. Head over to YouTube on Dr. TK because everything that I'm talking about here, I'm going to actually do more of the show and tell, taking you behind the scenes. But here I'm really going through the mindset shifts that happen as a CEO and mom and wife and creating abundant experiences. So the flight was fine. And I downloaded mostly, and even Disney podcasts that I just wanted to listen to, that was more calming, not upbeat, not making my brain go extra fast, but just really preparing my mindset to have an abundant time. And then my husband typically downloads his video podcast to watch on his phone. So we make sure to bring the gadgets to sit your phone and prop up so that you're not bending over your neck and back and things like that. So the layover Albuquerque was fine. We grabbed my son some pizza. Me and my husband had some hot sandwiches because there wasn't a lot of food choices, but it did the deed because also the time was changing the next day. And we knew that would impact our actual travel plans to go to the parks, which meant that it would get dark faster on some of the days that we wanted to go to see the animals or go to Epcot at Disney World to see the different countries. But as we were flying in on Saturday and the time changed on Saturday night into Sunday, we also knew landing at 7:00 would be a wash for our day. The only thing we did when we landed is we got in an Uber. So that's another planning tip, is price out the Uber versus private transportation. Next time I go to Orlando, I keep saying this, I promise you I will be doing private transportation because if you have 3 or more people, that means you have 3 or more pieces of luggage unless you're a carry-on person only. What happens in Uber and Lyft is that they will say that they seat 6 people or more, but they show up with a regular SUV like the one we got at home, which is a 2-seater in the front and a 3-seater in the back. There's no third row. So where's the 2 other people going to sit if we did have 6 people? Then if you're picking us up from the airport, you would only assume if it's 6 people, there's room for luggage for all of us. So we've ran into this issue with having 3 to 4 cars ordered and being canceled on Uber and Lyft last summer and this year. So I told my husband, man, next time we go to Orlando with that airport, I'm just going to get private transportation, because for whatever reason, I also noticed that they don't have Uber Black XL at MCO airport, but they got it everywhere else. Like New York, we never have a problem. DC, never have a problem. But in Orlando, there is no XL Uber Black. And I like doing Uber Black, for certain trips, just because, they have another, I don't know if y'all know this, I learned this from one of my friends, but they have another level of protection and another layer of professionalism. So, you are the asset. So protect your ride. Okay. And so we finally figured out like how to get a bigger car, and our friend couldn't pick us up from the airport. Primarily had just upgraded his car to get like damn near a 2-seater, even though it was a 4-seater. Like, does he have a Mercedes? So we knew we couldn't put our luggage in his car. So going over to the choice of staying at a Disney resort versus a venue. So I kind of alluded to this a lot in the part 1. So we were originally supposed to be at a 2-bedroom timeshare through my mom. Then we chose to downgrade and go to our friend's house because he said, hey, the conference room at my condominium is available. Do you want me to book it or whatever? So we arranged to book it for the 2 days. And it, outside of having a bedroom connected, it felt just like our conference room in, the Aria in Vegas. So it was nice. Area was nice. It was downtown Orlando. It was within 5-minute walking distance to a lot of restaurants, which is what I love. It was across the street from a lake. There's a parking structure that, the attendees had to pay for to like park their car there. There was street parking, but you would have to walk. And Florida with weather, probably not a good idea. So all of our participants actually parked in the parking structure. And then it was just nice, honestly, to go upstairs and go downstairs from the venue space. So that's one thing to consider when you are hosting an event. If you are going to do it at a hotel, I understand the benefit of finding the best deal, but you do want to take into account that time is wealth. And if you have to get up 2 hours early to get to the venue, and then what if you need to change your clothes? What if you want to take a break? What if you only want to use your bathroom? That means you got to keep getting into an Uber or a car to go to your hotel. It doesn't make sense. So I thought that it would make the best sense, because he had been asking us to stay with him because he always stays with us when he comes out here for like a week. You know what I'm saying? So, and then they'll just take one of our cars and go explore the city because, they not from out here. I ain't trying to go to Hollywood and LA all the time. We'll go with them like one time to go out to eat, go to the mall or whatever. But man, when they come out here, they go to the outlets 2 to 3 times because we live close to the bigger outlets. At Capizine, they will go to Hollywood. They'll go visit some of their friends in the LA area. But, we got kids. So I'm like, I ain't doing all that. We 40 miles out from the city. And so just take one of our cars, the Honda, and tour around the city. So we're like, when y'all coming back? Y'all should stay with us. Y'all stay with us. So in the gym one day, a download came and it said, hey, you don't need to stay and pay for a resort. Why don't you just stay with your people? You know what I'm saying? So I hit them up and I said, hey, can we stay with you since we're going to be having the event there anyway? And he was like, it was about time. I wanted y'all to stay. I want to hang out with my boy, talking about my husband and my son, because that's who they were going to be with anyway. But the difference is our stuff would be there. So think about convenience. If my son needed to take a nap, if we need to change his clothes, if he needs to use the bathroom, if we want to eat, we don't have to worry about like, oh, go upstairs, call the Uber, go to the hotel, then come back, come pick me up. That actually is also taxing another bill. So we were able to stay at his condominium, go out to eat, have a good time. And it was really just the convenience of staying at the venue space. So why am I sharing all of this with you? I want you to reframe how you see time and setting up your intentions for a trip or for a business trip, including if you're an attendee at an event. We've had plenty of events where my clients will say, I'm going to stay down the street. Sometimes they end up moving their reservation to the hotel because they realize, oh, we got an hour and a half break for lunch. I ain't trying to eat for no hour and a half, man. I want to go take a nap. I want to go brainstorm. Or they may want to go hang out with other people. They may want to go out to eat at the hotel. They don't want to keep catching these Ubers all day long. So that's something you want to consider. Also, reflect on the abundance of opportunities that travel can offer you or anyone else who is going with you, from experiencing new perspectives to connect with people in different environments. This is one of the things that I share with my clients. You don't have to go to one of our events that's out of town, but sometimes just going to an event alone and getting outside of your regular workspace is abundant enough. So for this event, this was my first time actually meeting 3 clients that were all from the state in which I was hosting the event. That has never happened. And it was pretty cool because they connected really well. And it was also because of the way that we structured the event, which I'll talk about in another series. Also, like I mentioned, staying at the venue of the event, it does add a level of convenience and my ability to have room for focus. It allows me to fully into both personal and professional growth while maintaining the freedom to step back and enjoy family time when desired. It was an easier transition to go from CEO to wife and mom when I can just hop on the elevator and actually I would call my husband and say, hey, come downstairs, come help me clean up. And then the only thing we would usually leave in the room in a drawer is like the paper plates and napkins, but everything else we would like take upstairs because we don't know if somebody else is using the conference room with us. So that's why I also didn't bring a lot of material, because if we have it at a hotel, they'll just tell us they'll lock the room, but take out like anything that's like highly, highly valuable. So I'll take like my laptop, but I'll leave the speakers and everything like that because I'm not about to keep lugging that stuff or paying for baggage people, the concierge, to keep lugging it up and down the room. I'm not doing that. But it was to me about embracing the time and flexibility of being able to do both life and business. And like I said, felt kind of cool to not have to wake up extremely early to get ready, to pack up extra bags to make sure I have everything, to then go away to another venue away from where I stay to actually enjoy clientele. So hop over on Instagram. Let me know what your takeaway was as it relates to intentional travel, setting up travel with parking and all the things. And then also just some tips I've provided around staying at a venue of the event that either you're hosting or the one that you are attending. And this is also something that I would ask you to consider if you are thinking about coming to our Life First Business Conference. So I have not yet introduced this into the actual episodes yet, but I do want to let you know everything I'm talking about at this point is directly correlated with our new slogan, which is the Life First Business Model, which means that you don't have to choose. You can have the best of both worlds. And that's why I use the word integration versus balance. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries, but sometimes there will be occasions where if you want to go away for a couple of days, let's just say if you want to go to a conference, can you go to the conference if it's at a time where your family or your spouse or partner or a friend is available? Tell them to come or meet you out there, and then you stay and extend your stay. Talk to your tax person and ask them how this can become a write-off. I'm just being real. The whole thing, okay? Because everywhere I go, I'm documenting my life and my business. That's how I've made my whole business. I'm not going to say my whole business is a tax write-off. I am not a financial advisor, disclaimer. But I'm just saying, get creative, y'all, and have fun and enjoy life. And if you want to take these conversations deeper and actually glow up your business and your life and connect with other people who are big dreamers as well, you definitely want to register for the Life First Business Conference. We are hosting it in New York in July of 2025. Make sure you check out the show notes. Anything or any events that I have will always be linked up in the show notes. And right now in November, we're having an early bird special. So to give you an understanding of how big of a deal this is, our masterminds are no less than $2,000 to come in person. Our conferences are no less than $1,111 unless we've had an early bird special. And the lowest early bird special that we had was $800. So the fact that you're able to come to New York City, and I got some things in my sleeve, okay, even outside of the event and leading up to the event, that's all I'll say for now. But you definitely want to register because that $497, I can guarantee you, will not live into 2025, if you can catch my drift with that statement. So secure your spot, get a friend to come with you. We're going to have a great time. you have plenty of time to plan out your abundant travel. That's also why I'm talking about intentionality and planning, because that has been a hiccup for my clientele, waiting to the last minute and then saying, oh man, I can't go because plane ticket's too high. I ain't got nowhere to stay. Well, why did you wait until 2 weeks to book all this stuff? Why don't you treat it like a payment plan? Why don't you turn on Google Flight Alerts and find out what day the flight drop and then go ahead and book that ticket? So if you want to meet us in New York, go ahead and check out the show notes. Otherwise, stay tuned for more episodes in this series. Also, hop over to Instagram. Let me know what was your biggest takeaway from this episode. Let me know if you're enjoying the new flow of the audio podcast and series. And again, check out YouTube if you want to see the more behind the scenes, the show and tell of the planning phase, but also the mastermind experience and us, really enjoying our trip, and Disney World if you want to get into that as an adult or a family person. All right, y'all. I will talk to y'all in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast show today. I hope you found the episode inspiring and filled with practical tips to help you step into the abundant version of yourself. Now, I would like to connect with you, so make sure to head down to the show notes for additional abundant resources. Until the next time, keep dreaming big, living abundantly, and making a lasting impact. I will see you in the next episode.